This is Griffin. 2 years ago, Griffin was literally working at a local vape store for $13 an hour. And just a couple months ago, he was able to buy his dream car and hit almost $50K a month with freelance copywriting. But Griff didn't get to this income level by locking himself in the crib and working 13 hours a day. He's also in peak athletic shape and works out hard every single day. And he's got a solid social life that involves him traveling around the world and going out 3 to 4 nights a week. So he's not a dork, and he still makes this much money. What other 21-year-old do you know that makes $500,000 a year and only works like 6 hours a day? None. Zero. So watch this interview and comment below what you think. What's up, Griff?
What is good, Cardinal?
Hey, man. So let me just tell the people what's going on. So you are a young man, pretty young. You're 22, right?
Yeah. Maybe the youngest man.
You might be the youngest person ever.
Yeah.
And also, you make a shit ton of money with copywriting. So you want to tell people exactly maybe how much that was? I mean, January is probably pretty big. But why don't you go
January can be 50.
January's gonna be 50?
January's gonna be 50.
Oh, wait. So just say that again for the people in the back. You're gonna make 50 grand this month of copywriting?
I sure am.
Um,
Copywriting and sales, apparently, which I teach
but
in
it's
internship.
basically an upsell on a client that you already do copywriting for.
That's correct.
Fire. So you are, not gonna lie, one of the highest paid copywriters, especially for your age group, age demo. I remember looking up the average salary of a copywriter, and I think for a senior, it's like 105K a year. We both dust that. And you're still pretty new to the game. Do you want to kind of go over your story and like how you got into it and how you got to where you are now?
Yeah. So
Oh, by the way,
basically,
let's just tell people before we get into it, we are related, and Griffin is my younger brother.
yes. Um, and so I guess that kind of leads into my origin story, which is that I was watching you write copy on the couch when in the home that we lived in together, which was this couch actually. All right, it was the other one in the matching set. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, dude, that guy is making bread. I think you were making like 50K a year at the time. And I was like, dude, this kid is caked. I was like, I need some of that. So um I reached or you put me up for a job at this ecom brand. You like somebody reached out to you and was like, "Hey, do you have a guy for this job?" And it was a social media manager job, which I fucked. Like the assignment that they gave me, it was like I did a horrible job. And so they emailed me back like 4 or 5 months later and they were like, "Hey, we have a marketing assistant role. Like, think you'd be good for it." Because I apparently showed some sign of, potential. And I worked under them for like 6 months and moved on to some agency stuff, and then eventually became a freelancer. Had my trials and tribulations trying to figure out like what to offer and to who and for how much money. And basically, once I figured that out, I got breaded.
Yeah, so just to give everybody some context, you worked for a brand for a while, and then you worked for an agency, and that was like a really tough job because you were kind of making money. You were making like 5-ish grand a month, but you were working like 10 hours a day because they were just giving you everything to do. You jumped from that agency to another agency that was a little bit easier work, but they were just like, it was a terrible culture. And you got fired for making fun of a client behind closed doors, which like I think is unjustified, but whatever. Um, and then and then you started freelancing. So you basically got fired from that job. You went to $0 a month, and then you had to basically figure out how to make some money. And I remember like I was getting on a flight from Toronto to Miami, and you were like, dude, like what you were like, yo, I just lost my job. And I was like, holy shit, let me like ask around, let me see if I can get you something else. And then I took off and I didn't have Wi-Fi on that flight for some reason. By the time I landed in Miami, 3.5 hours later, you'd already booked a couple of calls as a freelancer to like
Yeah,
to close those clients like I guess the next week or something like that.
that is true. What a lot of people don't know, because I've told this story a million times, and that part is important. Like going from zero to I had my first 20K that month just because like I picked up a bunch of clients and I also got my last paycheck from the agency. So I was like, I had just like barely made it. That was my first 20K CAD month.
Okay.
Um, and I just barely fucking scraped it. Um, but what a lot of people don't know about that story is because I was new to freelancing, I was a decent copywriter, but I was a shit freelancer. Like I didn't know how to retain clients. My retention was really, really poor. And I went back to zero in January of that, like of the following year. So that was like November that happened. December and then January, I went back to zero. And
Again,
I remember same like I panicked again and I texted you because that was when we were like starting up our agency together.
which,
And I was
you know,
that went poorly.
yeah.
But yeah, I was like back to zero. I had one client and they were paying me like $800 a month and it was just Twitter threads. And then luckily I had built a decent enough reputation with people who mattered, and there was just work coming my way. Obviously, I was grinding cold DMs with Contact Bird, rest in peace, Contact Bird. But yeah, I went back to zero after that, and then I went back to 5K and then 10K and then 20K a month, and then I've just been up and up and up and up since. Just because service delivery gets better, retention gets way better. All my clients now, um, my average life cycle is probably like almost a year, which is unheard of for most freelancers.
Don't lose clients. You know by now that I was able to help Griff early on in his career by teaching him copywriting and also giving him opportunities to make money. And if you know anything about Inner Circle, you know that I can actually do the same thing for you too. Inner Circle is our coaching program where you can learn from people like Griff and I, become a trained copywriter, and potentially get warm leads dropped in your lap without having to do any outreach. So if that's something you're interested in, click the link in the description, watch the video on the other page, and I'll see you inside. We never lose. What? Okay.
I never
Why,
lose.
why don't you tell people the mechanisms through which you were able to run up so fast? Like there are people in this world that will try sending cold DMs or cold emails for like a year or more, and they just can't get anything out of it. But for some reason, in the three and a half hours that it took me to fly from Toronto to Miami, you were able to book like 2 or 3 sales calls and you closed them and you did it 20K in your first month as a freelancer from basically nothing. Like how what, are you just better than everybody else? I know you are. I know you're smarter than everybody else, but like tell us like what happened?
Well, I think the biggest factor at that time, because the answer I'm going to give for the reason I was able to come back from zero in January is a different answer to what I'm going to say to this.
All right.
I think at that time, my script was just so good that there was really nobody saying anything like it. Like the whole you doing anything with email right now, there was a period of time, even in Inner Circle's lifetime, where that was like the script. Like if you sent that, you're getting like 80% reply rate. Now there's certain ways you have to adapt it, but when I came up with that script the first time, it was printing for me. So I think partly it must have been my script because I'm pretty sure I was private on Instagram at that time. I didn't really have any posts. I didn't have anything. Um, so I think after that, like in January, I think it was more of a profile optimization thing, which is now more important than ever. I think you really can't get by with like a shitty profile anymore. The first time I was really sending cold DMs, I think you could, and now I think there's a little bit more to it. Um, so that's what I would say for that.
Interesting. Okay. Those are good tips. I think it's a lot of stuff like I'm like I'm getting all these DMs all the time in Inner Circle, like people asking me to like review scripts and stuff like that. And I think they just take it way too seriously. Like they're just like using the same script for everybody. And it doesn't feel natural. Like the way you kind of go about getting clients is sort of like you're on their level. And it's just like the essence behind like you doing anything with email right now is it's not a magic script. It's that it's just casual. And that's just what you felt like saying. Now everyone knows it's canned. And so it's like maybe it's not working as well anymore. Still working low key. But I
Yeah.
think like you can take that same essence and sort of like transmit it into any like group of words that just feel that way where it's like bro like you're crushing, why do you not have email going right now? Like what is wrong with you? Like why do you not have an email list? Like same energy where it's just like chill and it's just like you're on their level. You're not like, please sir, could I hire you, or could you please hire me to be your client? Like I don't know. I think the way you're going at it was just like very much like what your personality is. Like you're pretty like laid back and easygoing, and I think that just worked for you. But if we fast forward, so like January of last year, you were at zero. It's now January of this year, and you're no
Dude,
longer zero. You are doing 50K a month. And it doesn't really sound like you're working like an insane schedule. Like, what does your schedule look like right now, day to day?
now it's a lot of like most of what takes up my time now is a lot of managing teams. So I'm working with sales teams. Obviously, I'm making sure the coaches in Copy MBA are doing their shit. But a lot of it is just making sure that all, because the thing is, when you have rev share deals, which you will moving forward, anybody watching this, like if you want to make a really, really good amount of money, that's just what you're going to have to pivot to over time, is just moving your deal structure. Your goal when you have deals like that is to make sure that the client is holding up their end. So making sure that they're fulfilling, making sure that they're getting their content out on a daily basis or whatever, making sure that you're essentially coaching them through their business because at a certain point you know more than they do, and that's why they keep you around. So a lot of my day to day is checking up on everybody, making sure they're doing it, and then probably the actual copy side of it. If I'm not building new funnels or launching new products, only takes me about an hour or two to write the emails every day, if that.
Sorry, I was muted. You're only actually writing for a couple hours a day.
Yeah, I very unless I'm yeah, unless I'm writing a whole sales letter, it's very rare that I write more than an hour or two a day.
Yeah. And that's like the best place to be because like you can still sort of give yourself like a dope lifestyle, which is what I kind of want to talk about more of. Like you're not like a lot of people think about like a 50K a month like agency owner or something like that, or 50K a month like brand owner. And like usually it's like trenches. You know what I mean? Like you're working 12 hours a day. It's just like endless just piles of stuff you have to get through. And it doesn't seem like that's what you're doing. Like talk more about like what your life looks like now as a person who, is 22 and makes 50 grand a month. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So I actually, for a while, I struggled with this because I'm thinking, yo, if I'm working an hour or two or three max a day, maybe four on a crazy one, and these people on Twitter and on social media are talking about like, oh, like you're out on New Year's partying and while I'm inside grinding, I'm gonna lap you. I'm like, dude, are these guys gonna lap me? The answer is no. It turns out I'm just smarter than everybody, or I just know something they don't, which is what I teach. But my lifestyle, dude, I travel, I hang out with my girl, I drive the AMG like it's stolen, and that's pretty much what I do. Like I just do whatever the fuck I want. Like I have a schedule, obviously, but it's not like I'm gonna die if I'm not at my desk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I work very, very freely.
And you've also like used your money in like an interesting way to sort of like I guess just make stuff easier. Like for example, like the way that you can go to a restaurant and like you're local and like you spend money there and like you kind of make people love you. Like you've used money in a way where it's like it's more than just like having stuff. Like you're gaining trust from people. Like you're I don't know, you're building a network. Like does money help you with that, or do you think you could do that without money?
I think you can do it without money, but it takes a lot probably. I wouldn't know. I've never tried, but I know the waitress from the restaurant we went to the other night came, drove to my house and hand delivered the items that I ordered from her Shopify store that she's starting up. I think she has fulfillment. Like I don't think she has to do that, but she came, she like introduced me to her daughter. She's like, "This is my other son." She was like so excited. And so when you're able to impact other people's lives, and it doesn't take that much money. If you're making 10, 20K a month, you could probably still do it. Just like throwing $100 or $200 somebody's way, it'll affect them way more than it affects you. And I think when you have the freedom to do that, it opens up so many doors as far as getting good service, getting rid of problems really quickly. And there's just a lot of like random benefits that you can't technically buy, but if you spend money in the right places on the right people, you're indirectly buying it.
Yeah. You have the ability to, influence their life in a positive way from something that's, kind of meaningless to you and me. It's like whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
$100, like, what are we gonna do with an extra $100? But like what they will do with it is like completely different. It could change everything for them. So it's interesting. But and I also want to talk about coaching too, because like speaking of helping people, like in the last few months, like we started Inner Circle kind of together. Like you were my first coach, because I knew you knew what you're talking about, obviously, and you were fucking crushing. And like you've now seen, like we have a few hundred people in there that like we've helped get their first client or their first five clients or whatever. Like some people are up to like 20, 30, 40K a month now. Like what patterns are you seeing as a coach between like people who succeed and people who like don't really get it?
I think the biggest thing, and I've talked about this a million times before, is if you care about being a copywriter, the two things that are going to be most important to you are obviously focusing on your craft and being the best copywriter you can be. I think secondary to that is understanding people on a personal level. We talked about Kev. I had basically a full coaching call where I broke down why Kev is making 40K a month. He's a good copywriter, don't get me wrong, but 90% of the reason he's making the money he's making is because he's able to like use his people skills well. So with cold DM, you mentioned it earlier. You need to be able to have conversations with people. You need to be able to understand how a sales process actually works and what people are thinking when they say certain things. And client acquisition is essentially just that, is people skills. Client retention, I keep saying client. Client retention
Client.
is the skill part, is the value part. Like however much value you can provide to a business, they'll stay with you for as long as you keep them.
Mhm.
So I think the people who do really well are the people who focus on their craft and the people who focus on improving themselves on a personal level. Alex, great example. He was really, really shy when he joined. I worked with him hard and I gave him a bunch of like little nuggets just to try and get him to come out of his shell, and he immediately got better results. So that's a big part of it.
Now Alex is like cocky.
Yeah.
Alex is
Now I
like,
need to knock him down a peg or two.
yeah, yeah. I think he's gonna hit 30K a month soon. He's just gonna be a menace, bro. And he's pumping on TikTok and he's just feeling himself, which honestly is good. Like that's the thing that you and I have both realized where it's like when you like it doesn't matter where you kind of start out, like adding a couple, putting a couple extra bucks in your pocket every month, like is going to make you a more confident, just like more, I guess, attractive person. Like people are just gonna want to be around you more because you're just positive, you just believe more in the system. Like there's nothing worse than someone who like thinks that they can't do shit. They have no faith in themselves. Like no one has faith in them. Like you just don't really want to be around them. Like they're just complaining all the time. But like, and with copywriting, like we've both proven to ourselves that we are able to, you know, provide a great life for ourselves and also like help, like we have expertise that people pay us for. Like that's a big ego boost. And so I think like beyond just money, like I want to know for you, like what, like how has your like outlook on life changed? Like how how do you feel like do you feel differently about yourself now that you are in a position where like you're just ripping and like you have like kind of like a big boy business?
Yeah. So I remember when I first started trying to grow my Twitter account, I was really worried that I wouldn't have anything valuable to provide to people. Like I just figured I didn't know maybe that much about copywriting, that much about really anything. But now I'm able to, get on every week, sometimes multiple times a week with people who already know a decent amount about copywriting, either because I've taught them myself or because they've just watched the course, as even if it's their first time there. And I'm able to give knowledge out that changes the trajectory of people's lives just by the words I'm saying. It's not even like I'm doing anything for them. I'm just telling them things that I know, and it changes their lives. Knowing that I have the power to do that for basically anybody, it's an ego thing, yeah, but it's also like you just feel more valuable as a person. Like I know that I have something that I can provide that will always, always, always make me money. And because of that, I'm able to basically do whatever I want. Like people talk about the idea of fuck you money. they say like, oh, it's like whatever, a certain number in your bank account. It's not. It's fuck you money is basically you have a little bit of money and you also just have the code cracked on how to make way more of it if you really wanted to.
Mm.
And so having that lets you walk around with like a sense of I do whatever the fuck I want and people who like me, people who don't type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't need anything. You know what I mean? Like people who rely on other people for their income, especially one single person, like they're a shell of themselves because like they have no freedom, they have no control. Like you can pretty much do whatever you want because people rely on you. Like, yes, you have clients that pay you, but also like they wouldn't be making really any money if it weren't for you. Like you kind of have more control than they do, like more power. So, and that's what happens when you become a really good copywriter is you just have all of this, all of this swagger because it's just like you know that like there's nothing that anyone can tell you. It feels sick. Um, and I guess I kind of just want to wrap it up. Um, what would you tell someone who's kind of just getting started? And I think I ask everybody this, but I'm especially curious about the way that you answer this. Like, if there's someone watching this right now who's like, yeah, I kind of want to do this, but like, I don't know if it's for me. Like, I don't know if it'll actually work. Like, what would you say? How would you handle that objection?
It's a very simple question. Do you want money or do you not? And do you want to make it in a way that allows you to do literally whatever you want with the rest of your life? Like, I can't imagine somebody looking at your life or looking at my life and being like, nah, that's not for me. You know what I mean? Like 14-year-old me looking like probably looking at me now would be like, dude, whatever I can do to get what that guy has, I'm gonna do it. Um, I think if you have any writing inclination whatsoever, if you passed grade 5 English, this is something you can do, and it's something you can do to make a lot of money. Is it going to look as flashy with Shopify screenshots where you're showing like 500K a month and then taking home 10 of that? No. Um, is it going to be what actually potentially makes you a millionaire? Yes,
Yeah, I think that in the next like 2 years you will hit millionaire status just because of this, and you could probably cash flow your way there too.
probably.
So yeah, which is pretty fucking exciting because like people say millionaire by 30, you'll get there by 25. I'm confident in that. Good shit, Griff. Thanks for coming on, dude. I think people are gonna love this one. And obviously, if you are still interested in working with Griffin and I, then hit the link in the description. All right, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I hate saying that, bro. Don't hit the fucking bell. I don't want you to get notified when I post videos. I want you to just find it because you want to watch it. You know what I mean? Anyway,
I want you to be on my channel, swiping up over and over, just trying to see if there's a new video that came out.
I shouldn't need to send you notifications. You should just know when it drops.
Yeah.
All right. See you later, Griff.